My hands were shaking as I held the cheap plastic plate. The angry customer in front of me was yelling so loud that spit was flying from his mouth. "You stupid girl!" I said, "No pickles!" He screamed, throwing the burger at me. It hit my chest and fell to the dirty diner floor. Hot tears burned my eyes. 3 months ago, I was wearing a diamond necklace worth more than this entire restaurant. I lived in a mansion with 47 rooms. My closet was bigger than most people's houses, filled with clothes worth $200 billion. Yes, you heard that right, 200 billion. But now I was picking up a soggy burger off the floor while a man called me names I don't even want to repeat. How did I go from being one of the richest teenagers in the world to this nightmare? Well, let me tell you a story that will blow your mind. Before we start, hit that subscribe button if you love crazy stories like this. And comment below, where are you watching from? Let me know. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Sophia Chun, and I was born into a family so rich that we didn't just have money, we had power. My father, Richard Chun, owned Chun Industries, one of the biggest technology companies in the entire world. We made computer chips, phones, and secret technology for governments. My dad was so important that presidents and kings would call him for advice. I grew up in a world most people only see in movies. Our palace sat on top of a hill overlooking the ocean. It had indoor swimming pools, a movie theater, a bowling alley, and even a chocolate room where everything was made of chocolate. Yes, even the furniture. But the most amazing thing about our house was my closet. Oh, my closet. It wasn't just a closet. It was 3 floors of pure fashion magic. The bottom floor had my casual clothes. We're talking thousands of jeans, shirts, and sneakers. The middle floor had my fancy dresses and designer outfits. But the top floor? That's where the really special stuff was kept. Diamond dresses, shoes made of pure gold, a jacket that cost $50 million because every button was a rare ruby. I had clothes from designers who only made one piece in the entire world, just for me. Fashion magazines would beg to take pictures of my closet. Some people said my closet was worth $200 billion. I never really counted. I had a team of 5 people whose only job was to take care of my clothes. They would steam them, organize them by color, and help me pick out outfits. Every morning, I would walk into my closet and feel like a princess in a fairy tale. My life was perfect. I had a credit card with no limit. If I wanted something, I bought it. If I got bored, I flew to Paris for lunch. My 18th birthday party had 3 famous singers perform, and we released 10,000 butterflies at midnight. Cost $20 million, but Daddy said I was worth it. I had friends, well, I thought they were friends. Girls who laughed at my jokes and boys who wanted to date me. Looking back now, I realized they just liked my money. But back then, I didn't care. I was living the dream. School? I went to the most expensive private school in the country. It cost $100,000 a year, but that was nothing to my family. I didn't really study much. Why would I? I was going to inherit my father's company anyway. I failed tests, skipped classes, and the teachers never said anything. My dad donated so much money to the school that they couldn't get mad at me. I thought life would always be this easy. I thought I was special. I thought wrong. The first sign that something was wrong came on a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were usually when I went shopping. I was 19 years old, and I had just finished my first year of college. Barely. I paid someone to do most of my homework. I woke up late, around 11 a.m. My personal assistant, Marie, brought me breakfast in bed French toast with gold flakes on top. Yes, real gold that you can eat. I was scrolling through my phone, adding things to my shopping cart, when Marie's phone rang. She answered it, and I watched her face go completely white, like all the blood just drained out of her head. "Miss Sophia," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's the hospital. Your father. There's been an accident." The gold flakes suddenly tasted like metal in my mouth. I dropped my fork. "What kind of accident?" I asked, but I already knew from her face that it was bad. Really bad. We rushed to the hospital so fast that our driver ran 3 red lights. I didn't even change out of my pajamas, pink silk ones that cost $5,000. I just threw on a fur coat and ran. At the hospital, doctors were rushing everywhere. They took me to a private room where my father was lying in a bed, covered in tubes and wires. He looked so small. My father was a big man, tall, strong, with a voice that could fill a room. But in that hospital bed, he looked tiny and broken. Heart attack, the doctor said quietly. A massive one. We did everything we could. But, that word hung in the air like a dark cloud. My father opened his eyes and looked at me. He tried to smile, but it looked painful. Sophia, he whispered. His voice sounded like crackling paper. Come here. I sat next to him, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in my father's eyes. My dad was never afraid of anything. He built a billion-dollar company from nothing. He made deals with the most powerful people in the world. But now he was scared. I need to tell you something, he said. Something important. Don't talk, Daddy, I said, crying. Save your strength. You're going to be okay. But he shook his head. No, baby girl. I'm not. And I need you to listen to me very carefully. He told me that he had changed his will just last week. He said he had been thinking about me a lot lately. About how I lived. About who I was becoming. You're spoiled, Sophia, he said, and his words felt like a slap. I did that to you. I gave you everything, and I never made you work for anything. I created a monster, and now I'm going to fix it before it's too late. I started to argue, but he raised his hand to stop me. In my new will, he said, struggling to breathe, you get everything. The company, the house, the money, all $200 billion. But there's a catch. A catch? You have to earn it, he whispered. You have to live like a normal person for 1 year. You get a small apartment. You get a regular job. You live on whatever salary that job pays. No credit cards. No help from the family lawyers. Just you, alone, living like everyone else. I felt like the room was spinning. What? Daddy, no. That's crazy. I can't dash. If you refuse, he interrupted. Or if you quit before the year is up, everything goes to charity. The house, the money, the company, all of it. You'll get nothing. Not 1 penny. But Daddy dash. Promise me, Sophia, he said, gripping my hand so tight it hurt. Promise me you'll do this. Promise me you'll learn what it means to be a normal person. To work hard. To struggle. To be humble. Tears were streaming down my face. I promise, I whispered, because what else could I say? He was dying. He smiled then, a real smile. Good girl, he said. I love you. I'm sorry I have to be so hard on you. But this is the only way you'll learn. This is the only way you'll become the person you're supposed to be. Those were the last words my father ever said to me. He died 3 minutes later. The funeral was huge. Over 2,000 people came. Presidents, celebrities, business leaders. Everyone who was anyone showed up. I wore a black dress that cost $100,000 and cried behind dark sunglasses. People kept telling me how sorry they were. They kept saying my father was a great man. But all I could think about was what he had done to me. How could he do this? How could he take everything away from me when I needed him most? 1 week after the funeral, the lawyers called me to their office for the reading of the will. The office was fancy, all dark wood and leather chairs. Mr. Harrison, my father's main lawyer, sat behind a huge desk and put on his reading glasses. Miss Chun, he said in a serious voice, your father left very specific instructions. Are you ready to hear them? I nodded, even though I felt sick to my stomach. Mr. Harrison opened a folder and began to read. To my daughter Sophia, I leave everything. My company valued at $180 billion. My personal fortune of $20 billion. All properties, vehicles, and possessions. However, there was that word again. However, Sophia must complete a test of character. She must live as a normal person for exactly 1 year, starting 1 week after my death. The rules are as follows. Mr. Harrison looked up at me over his glasses. This next part is very specific, Miss Chun. He continued reading. 1. Sophia must move out of the family home within 3 days. She will be provided with a small, furnished apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. Middle class? I didn't even know what that meant. 2. Sophia must get a job and support herself on that job's salary alone. She may not use any family money, connections, or resources. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. 3. Sophia may take only 10 outfits with her. Nothing designer, nothing expensive. Her entire wardrobe must be worth less than $500 total. What? $500? I had shoes that cost more than that. 4. Sophia will receive a weekly allowance of $50 for emergencies only. This money is monitored, and she cannot save it or use it for anything besides true emergencies. $50 a week? That wouldn't even buy me one coffee at my favorite cafe. 5. Sophia may not tell anyone her true identity. She must use a fake name and pretend to be a normal person. 6. Sophia will be monitored by a private investigator. If she breaks any rules, reveals her identity, uses family money, or quits her job, the test is failed. If she fails, everything goes to charity. Mr. Harrison put down the papers and looked at me. Miss Chun, your father also left you this letter. He wanted you to read it after hearing the will. He handed me an envelope. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely open it. Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting. My dearest Sophia, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer to help you through this, but I believe this is the best thing I could do for you. You've lived in a bubble your whole life. You've never struggled, never failed, never had to work hard for anything. And I'm sorry, baby girl, because that's my fault. I gave you too much too easily. This year will be hard. You'll cry. You'll want to quit. But if you push through, you'll discover something amazing. You'll discover who you really are. Not my rich daughter. Not the girl with the billion-dollar closet. But Sophia. The real Sophia. The strong, capable woman I know you can be. I love you more than all the money in the world. Please don't hate me for this. Love always, Dad. I was sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Mr. Harrison handed me tissues. When does this nightmare start? I asked when I could finally talk. The clock starts Monday, he said gently. That's 4 days from now. We've already arranged your apartment. Here's the address. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. I looked at it. 342 Maple Street, apartment 4B, Riverside District. Where's Riverside District? I asked. About 30 miles from here, Mr. Harrison said. It's a working-class neighborhood. Safe, but simple. Simple. That was one way to put it. What about my clothes? My jewelry? My car? All stays at the house, Mr. Harrison said. We'll pack 10 outfits for you from regular stores. You'll take the bus or walk. No car. The bus! I practically screamed. Mr. Harrison just looked at me with pity. I'm sorry, Miss Chen. These are your father's wishes. Do you accept the terms? Or do you forfeit everything? I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell them this was insane and unfair and cruel. But then I thought about my father's face in the hospital. I thought about his words. Promise me. I had promised him. I accept, I whispered. The next 3 days were a blur of packing and crying. I stood in my 3-floor closet and looked at my $200 billion collection of clothes. The dresses I'd worn to movie premieres. The jacket covered in diamonds that I wore to meet the Queen of England. The shoes I'd bought in Paris, Milan, Tokyo, New York. All of it staying behind. Marie helped me pack my 10 outfits. We went to Target, and bought cheap clothes. Jeans for $20. T-shirts for $10. A winter coat for $50. Sneakers for $35. Everything felt rough and scratchy. The shoes were uncomfortable. The coat was thin and ugly. I cried the whole time. How do normal people wear this stuff? I asked Marie. She gave me a sad look. This is what most people wear, Miss Sophia. This is all they can afford. That night I had a huge party. I invited all my friends, or the people I thought were my friends. I told them I was going away for a while for personal reasons. I didn't tell them about the will. Couldn't. The party was at our house and it was amazing. We had a DJ, a chocolate fountain, and fireworks. Everyone kept asking me where I was going, but I just said, traveling, and changed the subject. But something weird happened. As I looked around at all these people eating expensive food and drinking champagne in my house, I realized something. I didn't really like any of them. They were loud and fake and only cared about money and status. Just like me. Was this who I really was? The party ended at 2 a.m. By 6 a.m., a car was picking me up to take me to my new apartment. I took one last look at my bedroom, at my closet, at the life I was leaving behind. Marie was crying. "I'll miss you, Miss Sophia. I'll be back in 1 year," I said, trying to sound confident. "This will be easy. I'll get some stupid job, live in that apartment, and boom, 1 year later, I'm back here with all my money." Marie just smiled sadly. She knew something I didn't. This was going to be the hardest year of my life. When the car dropped me off at 342 Maple Street, I thought there had been a mistake. The building was tiny and old. Paint was peeling off the walls. There was a weird smell in the hallway, like old food and cleaning products mixed together. I climbed the stairs to the 4th floor, no elevator, and found apartment 4B. I used the key Mr. Harrison had given me and opened the door. Oh my God. The entire apartment was smaller than my closet. Way smaller. There was one room that was the living room and bedroom combined. A tiny kitchen the size of a closet. And a bathroom so small I could barely turn around in it. The furniture looked like it came from a garage sale. The couch was brown and had a weird stain on it. The bed was small with a thin mattress. There was a TV, but it was old and small, not flat screen like I was used to. I sat on the bed and it squeaked. Actually squeaked. Like a rusty door. I wanted to cry, but I was too shocked. This couldn't be real. People actually lived like this. I unpacked my 10 outfits and hung them in the tiny closet. They looked so sad hanging there. 10 outfits. I used to wear 10 outfits in 1 day and never wear them again. My phone rang. It was Mr. Harrison. "Miss Chun, just checking in. How's the apartment?" "Horrible," I said honestly. "It's tiny and ugly and smells weird." "It's clean and safe," he said. "That's all you need. Now remember the rules. You need to get a job by the end of this week. Your first weekly check of $50 will be deposited in your new bank account tomorrow. Do not use it unless it's a real emergency." "What counts as an emergency?" I asked. "Medical emergency, broken glasses, things like that. Not, I want Starbucks emergencies." I hung up and looked around my new prison. 1 year. I just had to survive 1 year. How hard could it be? The next morning, I woke up on that squeaky bed and for a second, I forgot where I was. Then I looked around at the tiny apartment and remembered. This was my life now. I got dressed in my cheap Target jeans and t-shirt. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. No makeup artist to do my face. No hairstylist to do my hair. Just me looking plain. I had never looked for a job before. I didn't even know where to start. I walked around the neighborhood looking at store windows. Help wanted signs were everywhere. I tried the coffee shop first. It looked cute and clean, and I thought, how hard can making coffee be? The manager, a tired-looking woman named Susan, looked at my application. "Have you ever worked before?" "No," I admitted, "but I'm a fast learner. Do you have any experience in food service?" "No, but can you work early mornings? We open at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I usually went to bed at 5 a.m. Sorry, honey," Susan said, handing back my application. "You're not what we're looking for." The same thing happened at the clothing store, the bookstore, and the grocery store. Nobody wanted to hire someone with no experience. I was starting to panic. I had 3 more days to find a job or I'd break the rules of the will. That's when I saw it. A small diner on the corner with a help wanted sign in the window. It looked old and kind of dirty, but I was desperate. I walked in. The diner smelled like grease and coffee. There were only a few customers, mostly old people and construction workers. The floor was sticky under my new sneakers. "Help you?" A big woman with red hair yelled from behind the counter. "I'm here about the job," I said. She looked me up and down. "You ever waitress before?" "No, but dash. Don't matter. You got 2 arms and 2 legs? You can carry plates?" "Yes." "You can show up on time and not complain about the work?" "Yes," I said, even though I wasn't sure that was true. "Fine. You're hired. I'm Betty. I own this place. You start tomorrow. 6 a.m. Don't be late." 6 a.m.? That was so early. But I needed this job. "Thank you so much," I said. Betty grunted. "Don't thank me yet. This job ain't easy. You'll be working 6 days a week, 8-hour shifts. $8.50 an hour plus tips. Tips are split between all the waitresses, so don't try to pocket them. You get a 30-minute lunch break. Uniform is a white shirt and black pants. You got those?" I nodded. I had bought 1 white shirt at Target. "Good. See you tomorrow. Don't be late." I walked out of the diner in a daze. I had a job. An actual job. Making $8.50 an hour. When I got home, I did the math on my phone. 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, that was 48 hours a week. Times $8.50, that was $408 a week before taxes. $400 a week. I used to spend that much on 1 coffee at fancy coffee shops. But wait, it got worse. After taxes, I'd probably only take home like $350 a week. That was $1,400 a month. My rent for the apartment was $800 a month. That left $600 for food, electricity, water, phone, and everything else. $600 to live on for an entire month. I felt sick. How did people do this? How did normal people survive on so little money? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my old life. My huge bed with the silk sheets. My closet. My credit card with no limit. All the parties and trips and fancy restaurants. Was I really going to give all that up just because I couldn't handle 1 little year of being poor? But then I thought about my father. About his face in the hospital. About his letter. "You'll discover who you really are." Maybe he was right. Maybe I needed this. Or maybe this whole thing was just a huge, terrible mistake. I guess I was about to find out. My alarm went off at 5 a.m. and I wanted to cry. Actually, I did cry a little. But I dragged myself out of bed, put on my white shirt and black pants, and walked to the diner in the dark. The streets were empty except for a few people heading to early jobs like me. I had never been awake this early in my entire life. My body felt wrong, like I was moving through mud. When I got to the diner, Betty was already there, setting up. "You're on time," she said, sounding surprised. "Good. Come on. I'll show you what to do." The next hour was a blur of instructions. How to take orders. How to carry multiple plates at once. How to work the old cash register. How to make coffee in the huge machine that looked like it was from 1975. "It's not rocket science," Betty said. "Just smile, be fast, and don't drop nothing." "Got it." I nodded even though I didn't got it at all. At 6 a.m. we opened the doors. Within minutes, the diner was full of people wanting breakfast. Construction workers, nurses getting off night shift, early morning drivers. They all came in and sat down, expecting me to know what I was doing. I didn't. The first hour was a disaster. I forgot orders. I brought the wrong food to the wrong tables. I spilled coffee on myself. It burned. I couldn't work the cash register and had to call Betty every time. "Move faster," Betty yelled. "You're backing everything up." The other waitress, a woman named Carmen who looked about 30, tried to help me. "Breathe," she whispered. "You're doing fine for your first day. It gets easier." But it didn't feel easier. My feet hurt. My back hurt. My hands hurt from carrying hot plates. And people were rude. So rude. One man yelled at me because his eggs were too runny. Another woman complained that her coffee wasn't hot enough. A teenager left a huge mess at his table and didn't leave a tip. By 10 a.m., I was exhausted. But my shift wasn't over until 2 p.m. For more hours of this torture. During my 30-minute break, I sat in the back room and looked at my phone. I had texts from my old friends. They were at brunch at a fancy restaurant, posting pictures of $30 mimosas and $50 eggs Benedict. I was eating a peanut butter sandwich Betty had given me and drinking water from the tap. I wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to call Mr. Harrison and say, "I'm done. Give all the money to charity. I don't care." But I thought about my dad. About the promise. 1 year. I could do this for 1 year, right? The afternoon was just as bad as the morning. Maybe worse because I was so tired. At 2 p.m., Betty finally told me I could go. "You did okay for your first day," she said. "You'll get faster. Come back tomorrow, same time." Carmen gave me my share of the tips. I counted it. $17. $17 for 8 hours of work on top of my $68 salary. Before taxes. I walked home and my feet hurt so bad I wanted to cry. When I got to my apartment, I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was a mess. I had food stains on my white shirt. I smelled like grease and coffee. I looked like a waitress. And that's when it really hit me. This was my life now. This was who I was. Not rich Sophia Chun with the $1 billion closet. Just Sophia Martinez, my fake last name. A waitress who made $8.50 an hour and lived in a tiny apartment and ate peanut butter sandwiches. I sat on my squeaky bed and cried harder than I'd ever cried in my life. This was only day 1. I had 364 more days to go. The days started to blur together. Wake up at 5 a.m. Walk to work in the dark. Work for 8 hours. Walk home. Eat cheap food. Sleep. Repeat. My body hurt all the time. My feet had blisters from my cheap shoes. My back ached from carrying heavy trays. My hands were dry and cracked from washing dishes when the dishwasher called in sick. But I started to get better at the job. I learned how to carry 4 plates at once. I memorized the menu. I could work the cash register without help. I even learned to smile at rude customers even when I wanted to scream at them. The other waitresses started to warm up to me too. Carmen became my friend. She was a single mom with 2 kids, working 2 jobs to pay rent. She made me feel better when I messed up. "You're doing great," she'd say. "I've seen girls quit after 1 day. You stuck it out." I also met Jake, the cook. He was a big guy with tattoos and a beard, but he was actually really nice. He'd always slip me extra fries or a piece of pie when Betty wasn't looking. "You look like you need it," he'd say with a smile. Slowly, painfully, I adjusted to my new life. But it was hard. So hard. I had to budget every single dollar. My rent was $800. My phone bill was $50. Electricity was about $60. Internet was $40. That left me with about $450 for food and everything else for the whole month. I learned to shop at discount grocery stores. I bought the cheapest pasta, the cheapest bread, the cheapest everything. I stopped eating meat because it was too expensive. I learned to cook basic meals in my tiny kitchen: spaghetti, rice and beans, sandwiches. No more fancy restaurants. No more ordering whatever I wanted. No more takeout when I was too lazy to cook. I learned what it felt like to be hungry and have to wait until the next day to buy food because I was out of money. I learned what it felt like to see something I wanted, even something small like a $5 ice cream, and not be able to buy it. I learned what it felt like to count pennies and quarters to make sure I had enough money for the bus. Everything I'd taken for granted my whole life: food, clothes, electricity, hot water, now felt like luxuries. And my old life started to feel like a dream. Had I really lived in a mansion? Had I really had a closet worth billions? Had I really never worried about money? It seemed impossible now. One night, about a month into my new life, I had a nightmare. I dreamed that my year was up and I went back to claim my inheritance. But Mr. Harrison told me it was all gone. Someone had stolen it, or my dad had lied, or I had missed some secret rule in the will. I woke up in a panic, sweating and crying. What if I did all this for nothing? What if at the end of the year there was no money? What if my dad's will was fake, or there was some catch I didn't know about? I couldn't go back to sleep. I sat in my tiny apartment and looked around at my new life. And I realized something scary. Part of me didn't want to go back. Not because I liked being poor. I hated it. But because I was changing, I could feel it. I was stronger now, tougher. I could do things I never thought possible. I could wake up at 5 a.m. I could work for 8 hours straight. I could survive on almost no money. The old Sophia would have given up on day one. But I was still here, still fighting. My father was right. I was discovering who I really was. And that person was someone I was starting to respect. Just when I thought I was getting the hang of things, everything fell apart. It happened on a Wednesday. I was working my usual shift when a woman came in. She was fancy, designer purse, expensive coat, perfect makeup. She looked like the old me. She sat in my section and I went to take her order. "What can I get you?" I asked with my practiced smile. She looked up at me and her eyes went wide. "Sophia? Sophia Chen." My heart stopped. It was Madison Blake. She had gone to my private school. We had been, not friends exactly, but we'd hung out at parties. Her dad worked with my dad sometimes. I think you have me confused with someone else," I said, panicking. "My name is Sophie Martinez." But Madison was staring at me like she'd seen a ghost. "No, it's definitely you. What are you doing working here? Where have you been? Everyone's been asking about you. I heard your dad died and you just disappeared." The whole diner was quiet now. Everyone was looking at us. "You must have me confused with someone else," I said again, my voice shaking. "I've never been to a private school. I've lived here my whole life." Madison stood up. "Sophia, stop lying. I know it's you. Is this some kind of joke? Is this for a reality show or something?" She looked around like she was searching for cameras. Betty came over. "Is there a problem here? This girl is lying about who she is," Madison said. "Her name is Sophia Chan, and her family is loaded, like billions of dollars loaded. Why is she pretending to be a waitress?" Betty looked at me, confused. "Sophie? What's she talking about?" I felt tears starting to form in my eyes. I couldn't let Madison blow my cover. If Mr. Harrison found out my real identity was revealed, I'd fail the test. I'd lose everything. "I don't know what she's talking about," I said firmly. "She's mistaken me for someone else. It happens. I guess I have one of those faces." Madison pulled out her phone. "Oh yeah? Well, I have pictures of us at your birthday party. Remember? The one with the butterflies and the—" "Enough," I said loudly, surprising everyone including myself. "I don't know you. I don't know this Sophia Chen person. And I need you to either order something or leave, so I can do my job." Madison's mouth fell open. She looked at me like I was crazy. Then she shook her head, grabbed her purse, and stormed out of the diner. "Weird lady," Betty muttered, going back to the kitchen. But Carmen pulled me aside. "Sophie, is she right? Are you not who you say you are?" "No," I said. "She's confused. I've never met her before in my life." Carmen didn't look convinced, but she let it go. "Okay, if you say so." I finished my shift, but I was terrified the whole time. What if Madison posted about seeing me on social media? What if more people from my old life saw me? What if the investigator my dad hired found out my identity was compromised? When I got home, I checked Madison's Instagram. She had posted a picture of the diner with the caption, "Just saw someone who looked exactly like Sophia Chun working as a waitress?" But she denied it. So weird. Anyone know where Sophia actually is these days? There were already dozens of comments. People speculating about where I was. People saying I was probably traveling in Europe. People saying Madison was crazy and saw someone who just looked like me. But one comment made my blood run cold. I heard Sophia's dad left everything to her, but she had to pass some kind of test first. Maybe this is her and she's not allowed to tell anyone. Someone knew. Someone had figured it out. I grabbed my phone to call Mr. Harrison, but then stopped. What if calling him made it worse? What if he decided Madison recognizing me meant I'd failed? I spent the whole night pacing my tiny apartment, terrified about what would happen next. The next few weeks were the worst of my life. Madison's post had gone semi-viral. People kept coming to the diner to see if it was really me. I had to keep denying it, keep pretending to be Sophie Martinez, while people took pictures of me on their phones. Some believed I was just a look-alike, but others were sure it was me and thought I was doing some weird social experiment. The stress was killing me. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was terrified every time someone walked into the diner that they'd recognize me. And then my phone broke. I dropped it on the sidewalk and the screen completely shattered. Still worked, but I couldn't really see anything. To get it fixed would cost $150, money I didn't have. That was my emergency fund for 3 weeks gone, just like that. Then my apartment's heater broke. In January, the landlord said he'd fix it eventually, but it had been a week and I was freezing. I had to buy a space heater at Target for $40, more of my emergency money gone. Then I got sick. Just a cold, but I couldn't afford to miss work. So I went in anyway, sniffling and coughing, and Betty yelled at me for getting germs everywhere. I was at my breaking point. I was exhausted, sick, cold, broke, and terrified of being discovered. And that's when the worst thing happened. Remember that angry customer from the very beginning of this story? The one who threw the burger at me? Well, let me tell you what led up to that moment. It was a Saturday. The diner was packed. Everyone wanted breakfast, and we were understaffed because one waitress had called in sick. I was running around like crazy, taking orders, bringing food, cleaning tables. And then he walked in, a big man in a business suit. He sat down in my section and immediately started snapping his fingers at me. "You, waitress, I need a menu now." I was carrying 4 plates and couldn't get to him right away. "1 moment, sir." "Now," he yelled. I delivered the plates and rushed to get him a menu. My hands were shaking. I was so tired and stressed that I could barely think straight. "Can I get you something to drink?" I asked. "Coffee, black, and I want eggs scrambled, not too wet, not too dry. Bacon crispy but not burnt. Toast wheat, lightly buttered. Hash browns extra crispy. And a burger medium well, and no pickles." "Got it." "Yes, sir," I said, writing it all down. "So that's eggs." Did I stutter? "You got the order or not?" "Yes, sir." I put in his order and rushed to help my other tables. The kitchen was backed up, and orders were taking forever. The man kept snapping his fingers at me, demanding his food. When it finally came out, I brought it to him. Eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns, and the burger. He cut into his burger and his face turned red. "What is this?" he screamed. "Your burger, sir. It has pickles." I specifically said no pickles. "I'm so sorry, sir. Let me get you a new." "You stupid girl," he yelled. And that's when he picked up the burger and threw it at me. It hit my chest. Ketchup, mustard, and pickle juice splattered all over my white shirt. The burger fell to the floor. The entire diner went silent. Everyone was staring. Hot tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to cry in front of all these people. I bent down to pick up the burger with shaking hands. "I'll get you a new one right away, sir," I whispered. "Forget it," he said, standing up. "This place is a dump. I'm leaving." He stormed out without paying, and I was left standing there covered in burger mess while everyone stared at me. Carmen rushed over. "Sophie, are you okay?" That's when I lost it. I just started crying right there in the middle of the diner. Loud, ugly crying. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "I can't do this," I sobbed. "I can't. This is too hard. I want to go home. I want my old life back." Betty came out from the kitchen. For once, she didn't look angry. She looked concerned. "Sophie, go to the back room," she said gently. "Take a break." Carmen walked me to the back room and helped me clean the burger mess off my shirt. I sat on a crate and cried into my hands. "I know it's hard," Carmen said softly. "That guy was a jerk. They're not all like that." "It's not just him," I said through my tears. "It's everything. I'm so tired. I'm so broke. I'm so cold in my apartment. My phone is broken. Everyone thinks I'm someone else. I have no friends. I have nothing. And I have to do this for 8 more months. Carmen sat down next to me and put her arm around me. Can I tell you something? I nodded, still crying. When I first started working here, I cried every day for a month, she said. My husband had just left me with 2 kids and no money. I had to work 2 jobs just to keep a roof over our heads. I didn't think I could do it, but I did. And you know what? It made me stronger. It made me appreciate what I have. And it made me realize I'm tougher than I ever thought possible. She squeezed my shoulder. You're tough too, Sophie. You've made it this far. You can make it 8 more months. And when you get to wherever you're going, whatever you're working toward, you'll be proud of yourself. I promise. I looked at Carmen. Really looked at her. She was about 30, but she looked older because of how hard she worked. She had permanent tired lines around her eyes. Her hands were rough and calloused. She probably hadn't bought anything nice for herself in years because every penny went to her kids. And yet she was kind. She was strong. She was still smiling despite everything. How do you do it? I asked her. How do you stay positive when life is so hard? She smiled. Because what choice do I have? I can give up and let life beat me, or I can keep fighting. I choose to keep fighting. Every single day. I wiped my tears and took a deep breath. Carmen was right. I had to keep fighting. I went back out to finish my shift. I held my head high even though my shirt was stained and my eyes were red from crying. After my shift, Betty pulled me aside. You did good today, kid. That guy was way out of line. Don't let people like that break you. I won't, I said, and I meant it. I walked home that night feeling different. Stronger somehow. That man had thrown a burger at me, literally thrown food at me, and I hadn't quit. I kept going. The old Sophia would have run away crying on day 1. But the new Sophia? She picked up that burger, asked what she could get him instead, and finished her shift. I was changing. I really was. When I got home to my tiny, cold apartment, I didn't cry. Instead, I made myself a peanut butter sandwich, wrapped myself in every blanket I owned, and thought about my dad's letter. You'll discover who you really are. I was starting to understand what he meant. The real Sophia Chun wasn't the girl with the $1 billion closet and the unlimited credit card. That was just a costume I'd worn because I'd been born lucky. The real Sophia was the girl who could wake up at 5 a.m., work an 8-hour shift, get food thrown at her, and still keep going. The real Sophia was strong, and no amount of money could have taught me that. I still had 8 months to go. 8 more months of early mornings and cheap food and a tiny apartment and rude customers. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could actually do this. Not for the money, not even for my dad's memory, but for myself. To prove to myself that I was more than just a spoiled rich girl. I was Sophia Chin, and I was gonna make it through this year if it killed me. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Drop a comment below and let me know. Could you survive a year like this? What would be the hardest part for you? Stay tuned for Chapter 2, where Sophia's world gets even more complicated. If you thought things were hard now, just wait until you see what happens next.